Now remember, Luke and Acts were written to a man named Theophilus. Both Luke and Acts begin with, "Dear Theophilus." That's how we know it was written to Theophilus. We don't know who Theophilus was. We don't even know if that is his real name. It means lover of God. We think it was somebody either in government or some measure of influence who could hear about the ministry of Paul, who was in Rome under arrest at the time that these books were written, and understand about the work of Christ and the growth of the church. Dear Theophilus, this is how the life of Jesus happened. Dear Theophilus, this is how the growth of the church happened. It happened with a little bunch of believers in Antioch who sent out 2 missionaries. And those 2 missionaries spread the gospel throughout the entire Roman Empire. This missionary work that rocked the Roman Empire started with a little church in Antioch, sent out the first 2 missionaries. And now this same Paul, who was being sent from the church in Antioch, was on trial for his life in Rome. But let me tell you who this guy is. He's the guy that Jesus sent. Go back to Acts chapter 9. Acts chapter 9, when Jesus is telling Ananias to go lay hands on Saul, that he's going to be used as a chosen vessel, he says to Ananias, "I have chosen this man to represent me before kings and Gentiles, and I will show him what he will suffer for my name." I have chosen this man to be sent to kings and Gentiles. That promise made in chapter 9, now in chapter 13, is happening. And the rest of the story is about the adventure of Paul and his missionary journeys. We shouldn't be surprised that this same Jesus is sending missionaries out of Antioch. It's the same way that he lived his own life. Now, remember the early chapters of Mark. The gospel and Jesus' preaching has just started. Everybody is finding out about Jesus. Everybody is coming to be around Jesus. There are hundreds of people showing up. Peter finds Jesus after he'd been praying and says, "Listen, everybody is looking for you." What does Jesus say? "I need to go to the other villages and preach to other people, for that is the reason that I came." It's not long into the disciples' ministry with Jesus, their being a disciple, that Jesus sends them off. He sends them off on trial missionary journeys. And when he left after the resurrection, he brings them together before the ascension, and he says the Great Commission, "Go into all the world," sent. Acts 1:8. "You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth." This sending thing that happens. The next stories in the book of Acts are about a guy named Stephen who is sent to Jerusalem and begins to preach, and a guy named Philip who is sent to the middle of nowhere to find an Ethiopian eunuch who's reading the book of Isaiah. This has been throughout the Bible. Throughout the Bible, we have these people who are sent. Moses is sent. Moses did not volunteer. He was sent. Elijah was sent. Isaiah in a moment of worship in Isaiah chapter 6 is so overwhelmed by the presence of God. And in that moment of worship, he hears God say, "Who will go for us? Who will we send?" And Isaiah jumps up and says, "Send me. Here I am. Send me." He doesn't know where, doesn't know how, doesn't know what he's supposed to do when he gets there. He just knows this awesome God is sending me, and that's what I'm going to do. Paul is sent. Peter is sent. All the disciples are sent. And now, all of these years later, you and I are sent.